Hello, hi, Kuber here. My name is Kuber. Welcome to my channel. I am not sure who all is here so far. Let me quickly take a look. Okay, quite a few of you. Very nice to see so many of you. Hi, Parminder. Hi, Sohaib. Hi, Saad. Hi, Arsalan. Wow. Okay, quite a few of you are already here. And hi, Sarwar. Then hi, Rakesh. Well, nice to see you guys. Thank you for joining in. And quite a pensive afternoon here in Toronto, and the reason for today's, or rather the subject for today's. Let me get rid of this. The subject for today's broadcast, the subject for today's this live session is frustrations. And the reason why I thought of that particular subject is because I saw a couple of posts where people were really having a go at somebody. Somebody said it's really good or bad that CEC draws were happening and CEC deserved it more, and etc. etc. So there was a bit of a tussle there between on the blue corner was the FSW, on the red corner was CEC, and they were having quite a few bouts. So I said it's not nice. So the first thing is that nobody deserves it or undeserves it. So it's not a question of deserving. I mean, everybody has put equal amount of effort. Everybody has put equal amount of time. Everybody has spent so much of time and effort behind the whole process. So it's not about who deserves it more. I think it's just about, at the end of the day, who's deciding. It's not you, it's not me, it's not any one of us in our groups who says, okay, I should get, or he should get, or who should not get. At the end of the day, the decision makers is the Canadian government, is IRCC, is the immigration minister. And at this point of time, with the pandemic scenario, with coronavirus going on and all these issues that are happening, they decided to give priority to people who are already inside Canada, or rather, so it is considered that if you are a CEC, majority of you will already be, I mean, of course, there are people who are outside Canada, majority of you will be inside Canada. So instead of them struggling to regularize their status, because at some point of time their study permits or their work permits or their whatever permits they are in Canada will expire, and instead of putting them through that process of restoring their status, making them legal again, etc., etc., and obviously increasing their burden. So it was better to sort of do this as in do only CEC specific draws. So at least the people who are already in Canada would be able to regularize their status as soon as they were able to submit their application. Because the minute they submit their application, they will be able to apply for bridge open work permit if they're already on a work permit in Canada. So that was the bit of a psyche kind of behind the whole process. At least that's how IRCC has taken the liberty of explaining us, whether it's on the Twitter feed and otherwise. So again, let me dispel the deserving, undeserving kind of the requirement. Now, what we will do for today's this broadcast is obviously we will take some questions as we go along, because there are a lot of you already writing up your questions, and I'll be very happy to sort of take them and see what is the best way of giving you an answer to those questions. And in addition to that, I will bring any one of you who is willing to come online, have a chat with us, share your part of the story, share whatever you don't don't feel why this whole thing is becoming such a big frustrated journey for you. We will discuss. Okay, I don't claim to sort of put all those frustrations or calm all those frustrations, because I know frustrations build up, and at the end of the day, they will do two things. Either they will make you quit because you're so frustrated, you just don't think it's worth your time, or they will make you think out of the box, and they will make you feel and realize there were other things that you can do to make your journey happen. Or obviously you will start thinking of something totally different, which you had not thought of before. So frustrations, that's what they will usually lead you to. And we will take people who want to come on live. So let's take this question first. Server says, like different ECA interpretation by different agencies, difference between case analyst especially their discretion levels, and then time taken for review required. But after all, beggars can't be choosers. Okay. I like the last line, because I am in the same spot. We can't be choosers because we're not the ones who are the decision makers. Okay. And these are so many things that you have pointed out which can be very annoying, whether it's IRCC or different agencies who are involved in the whole process. Now, let me just sort of take a couple of things here. As far as the ECA interpretation by different agencies are concerned, you see now different agencies, all these agencies who are being accredited, the 5 of them, or rather the 7 of them, but the 2 are Medical Council of Canada, PEBC, Pharmacy Education Examination Board of Canada. We will not take those because those are specialized for the specific education. But the generic ECA agencies, whether it's your WES, whether it's your IQAS, whether it's your ICAS, whether it's CES, all these 5 agencies, they are all independent agencies. They are not the government agencies. They are not under the I wouldn't say funding or not, because I'm not really sure if they are funded by government at any given point of time. But yes, they have been accredited. They have been assigned by IRCC or Canadian Immigration to sort of evaluate the equivalencies. Now, each of these evaluating agencies have come to an agreement with different colleges, universities across the world. Okay, now if you sort of give that a thought, and it's a very humbling one, there are more than 200 countries in the world and thousands of colleges in each of those 200 countries, and then another thousands of programs that most of these colleges offer. So you can understand it's not going to be a very easy task of putting together a database of different colleges, different programs, different curriculums, how many credit hours, how many program, so one of the parameters is to check what was the curriculum, and was this curriculum something which you could have covered in 4 years or 3 years, or something in terms of the specialization that you were awarded. And again, there are certain ways certain countries award degrees and certificates. For example, in Pakistan, a bachelor's degree can be awarded after 2 years. Okay, and then if you do a master's after 2 years, it becomes very difficult for one of the evaluating agencies to give you a 4-year bachelor's to the bachelor degree, because it wasn't, and then again give you a master's. So each of these evaluating agencies have some way of analyzing, but unfortunately they all have different parameters because they're different agencies. They're not same. They're under different purviews and different aspects of how they will evaluate the degrees. I'm not defending them. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to defend them. I'm just trying to give you my interpretation, my research, my opinion, if you may call it, on what happens around these things. Now, having said that, let's come to the second part, the case analysts. Now, the immigration process is defined by IRPA and IRPER. IRPA is Immigration Refugee Protection, Immigration Refugee Protection Regulations. In combination of these two, then there is ministerial instructions, where the instructions have been decided by the minister on what basis a visa officer or immigration officer should assess your application. Then comes the operational manuals, okay, for the program, or the program manuals. So there are these several manuals or reference points for an immigration officer to go by. Now, the law is same. It is defined. The law states A, B, C. However, the interpretation and the application of that law will again become subjective when the person or the case analyst or the immigration officer or the visa officer, how they apply it. For example, I'll just give you something very, very basic. If you apply for a visit visa, there is a lot of subjectivity which comes into play. So when I'm saying subjectivity, I mean a lot of visa officers will bring their emotion into play as to they have seen the documents, but they feel, the feel, I put it on quote, the feel whether this person whose application they have in front of them, whether this person will return back from Canada or not. The main deciding factor for them to approve a visit visa. Now, the application may be entirely as far as the law is concerned, as far as the requirements are concerned, as far as the regulations are concerned, or the act is concerned, okay? But it is the interpretation and it's that emotion or the feel of the visa officer which will come into play, where he or she feels that the person will not return back from Canada. On a different day, another applicant with the same set of documents, okay, applying for a visit visa, may actually get the approval, because now the visa officer feels with that profile and with the documents that this person will actually come back after their legal state. So unfortunately, in temporary resident visas, there's a lot of feel involved in terms of assessment. However, when it comes to the permanent residency application, it's more objective. Okay, this is the act, this is the regulation, this is the ministerial instruction. They have to assess based on that. But even after that, there is always that interpretation of that particular act and the application. So they may understand it, but how they apply it in assessment is where sometimes some people may skip through or slip through with certain things, and some people will not. For example, let me give you this very, very quickly. Just trying to think of an example on top of my head. Okay, let's see. Funds. Okay, now proof of funds for a lot of you out there. On the day of the assessment, if the exchange rate is lower than at the time when you submitted your application, the visa officer may choose to apply the fact that you submitted the documents and whatever was the exchange rate on that day, or they may choose to apply for that particular day. Now, again, some sort of an application comes into play, some sort of an interpretation comes into play. Or, for example, they may choose to deduct the credit card outstanding, your personal standing from your proof of funds, and say that your net availability or your net liquidity is now much less. Or all these are review required, so they will ask you for additional documents. Some will not ask you for additional documents. Some of them will say, okay, this is review required, but I understand that this person has submitted the documents, and at that point of time the currency rate was fine, so let's go through with it. So the application and the assessment, the person will just clear your application. So unfortunately, we are in a world where there will be differences in opinion, an interpreter, senior service, or per application. So these things will, fortunately, will always be there. There is always a little bit of luck factor. Therefore, the way I look at things is, when you're submitting an application, always provide more documents, more explanation, more reasons, more of everything, so that you just do not give any room or any chance for the visa officer to apply his own or her own interpretation or application. If you've given them everything that has to be provided, and there is no way for them to sort of interpret it differently, well, you're going to have a home run, aren't you? Well, long one on that. Let's take the next question. Oops, sorry. Sohaib says, are you expecting any major changes in immigration program amid COVID-19, like quota revision? Okay, good question. Now, am I expecting any changes? Well, my expecting doesn't make any difference, right? It's a personal opinion of how things will be or things may not be. But with the number of job losses that have occurred, I expect to be stringent to be okay. Sorry, sort of screen went off a bit. And so I feel one of the biggest differences is going to be on the LMIA applications. That's where the biggest difference will be. Apart from that, as far as the quotas are concerned, there may be a possibility that the provinces may not get additional quotas. There may be a possibility where CIC makes it more specific they might continue to make it more specific for CEC, Canadian Experience Class, for a longer duration of time. Well, something to be seen. They will not stop PNPs because those are provincial level quotas. They've already been assigned. Provinces are already assigning or issuing nominations. So I'm sure they don't want to stop the provincial nominations. So those will continue the way they are. I expect to basically see more CEC specific draws, whether it's in the near future or in the coming times. It looks like that is something which they will probably continue with. I don't see any changes happening in terms of the application process. I also do not see any revision in terms of the less number of people being invited for this year, because you have to keep in mind, whoever is being invited this year, the invitations that are being given, all these people will be arriving in Canada only sometimes next year, probably end of this year or sometime next year. So, there's just too much of time difference of giving an invitation and the people actually arriving in Canada. So I don't see much of a difference happening as far as that is concerned. Okay. Okay. Parminder Singh Khanduja. If Canada requires so many immigrants, why don't they give an opportunity to below 400 CRS score? Okay, great question, and I can understand the frustration there. Absolutely can understand the frustration. Okay, let me try and break it down in my opinion and my interpretation. First of all, at a time there were applications which were being accepted manually. I'm talking to you pre express entry times, before 2015. Okay, applications were accepted manually. There was only a 67-point calculator for your eligibility. There were certain occupations which were considered to be more in demand, and that was the only criteria as such. And a lot of people who immigrated to Canada in the year before 2010, 2012 were didn't really have to go through such stringent requirements, whether it was language tests, whether work experience. I mean, yeah, work experience was still verified, but it wasn't really that strict as it is today. Then came the factor of automating the process or bringing more system into play. But you have to also keep in mind at that point of time, the immigration quotas were very, very low. Okay, so 2015 came and the new immigration system, or rather the application management system, the express entry came into effect. Okay, and from there on, when they brought the system into effect, they have to sort of put a standardizing parameter. Okay, because you may feel frustrated, you may feel angered by the fact that you need so many people. Why don't you call everybody who's there? But it's not about that, right? It's about Canada, first of all, spreading out the whole quota that they have. So for example, for this year, they have 350,000 people that they want to bring into Canada. Out of 350,000 people, almost half are coming through different programs like family reunification, like refugees, like caregivers, like business and investors program, so etc. etc. So half of this quota of 350,000, the people are coming through all these programs. So only the other half, which is will be coming through economic programs. Now, economic program basically is your express entry or PNP. Okay, so how can they generalize anybody and everybody? So they put parameters in place. They put parameters for education. They put parameters for age. They put parameters for language skills, for work experience, so that everybody across the board could have a standard platform based on which they could be assessed. And therefore, the CRS scores came into play. So the parameter is the same. The platform is the same. Everybody is equal in the whole process. Whoever will have the highest points, as far as Canada is concerned, you're saying they need the immigrants to bring everybody in, but if they're getting to choose as far as the parameter factors are concerned, the best of the profiles, why won't they choose them, right? I mean, at the end of the day, they are the ones who are inviting people. They are the ones who want the best of the best available for their economy, for their country. So that's why the CRS scores come into play, and that's why the high-ranking profiles come into play. As unfortunate as that sounds in terms of 400 CRS, but then because the CRS score is low, therefore you have opportunities with provincial nominee programs. Now, how many people do you think who have high CRS actually opt for provincial nominee program? They don't, because they don't need to. Okay, only people who cannot qualify with the high CRS score actually opt for provincial nominee programs. So therefore, you will have Saskatchewan, Manitoba, British Columbia, Ontario, Alberta, who then give that second layer support for applications for people who will still be able to qualify for immigration processes, even if they do not have high CRS. So, but there will be other factors. There will be occupation, there will be some connection to the province, but there will be some other options available, or some parameters available for people to comply with. I hope that gives you some sort of an understanding of what this process entails. Oh, okay, next question I will take from Saad. Saad says, will Canada open ease study pathway to immigration for students in their 30s or 40s? Well, first of all, Saad, Canada has never put any hurdles for people who wish to study. Okay, the hurdles comes in different factors, and I will again give you an explanation of that as well. Age is not the criteria. Immigration, as far as Canadian immigration is concerned, as far as IRCC is concerned, age is not the criteria for assessment of your study permit applications. Okay, I personally know of a person who is of the age of 54, and he was able to secure a study permit application. So I know for a fact Age is not the criteria. I know of several people who are of the age of 40 and 40s, in their 40s, and they still have been able to achieve a study permit application. I know of people in late 30s who were able to be successful. So age is not the criteria, and it has never been the criteria. The criteria has been up to you to prove to Canadian government that you are a bona fide, genuine student who wants to come to Canada to study, and you're not going to stay here illegally, or you're not going to sort of continue to reside in Canada much later after your legal period of stay has expired. So that is the only criteria. If you're able to prove to Canada the tie-up between your past studies and the study you intend to take, your work experience, how does it tie up? Your statement of purpose becomes very important, and therefore you need to prove, or you need to convince that why Canada is important for you, why the particular college is important for you, why the particular program that you wish to study is important for you, and how does this all tie up in your life? How does it give you benefit? How does it sort of make you a better career-oriented person in your own life? So if you're able to sort of compile together a good SOP, statement of purpose, you will see a better success rate. I hope that answers for you. Next one I'm bringing is Arsalan. Okay, Arsalan says, God forbid. Okay, God forbid. But if the pandemic continues, should we expect ECA bodies changing credential requirements from hard copies to soft copies through email? IELTS may also be available at home online. Well, good question. I don't see that happening, to be very honest. Okay. There will definitely be changes. There will definitely be process changes, as we can already see in certain aspects. For example, IELTS indicator has started from British Council, but it is only for academic. It has got nothing to do with immigration. So IELTS indicator from British Council started basically to give you, academic tests which could be accepted by the colleges. The requirement from the ECA bodies to have a hard copy with a seal and coming directly from the college is only to avoid any fraudulent activities. Okay, and trust me, there are tons and tons of people out there who unfortunately do commit a lot of fraud in terms of degrees, documentations, assessments, evaluations. So as far as ECA authorities are concerned, they will need to maintain that integrity. They will need to maintain that they continue to provide a good evaluation to IRCC to show them that, this person has a genuine education background. To be very honest, that is in each of our favor, because imagine if they were to relax these requirements, and then people who really do not deserve to come in the process because of their fraudulent documents, if they are able to sort of, crack through the loophole and do it, then would you really like that? Would you really want that? I'm sure not. So, but again, as I said, because of this pandemic, lots of processes are changing, lots of government regulations are changing, lots of the way we do things are changing. So yes, it is quite possible that there might be a time where certain things might be different, and that's quite a possible, which will, at some point of time that will, or that may happen. Right, let's take the next question. Okay, we have Sohaib again. Are you expecting any major changes in EEE? Okay, we did this already. Right. What is the next question? Ax Bhatt. How are they dealing with the last few PPRs? I have sent my passports on 16th and March. I've not heard back. No update. It's very, very annoying. Absolutely with you on that. Again, now certain things need to be considered and understood about this. Your 18th of March, and soon after this, probably around the 18th of March onwards, different places in the world, including Canada, went for shutdowns, lockdowns, restrictions, work from home, essential offices, essential services being closed down. That has obviously affected lots and lots and lots of people. So unfortunately, the delays are inevitable. Even before this happened, even at the time when sorry about that. Even at the time when COVID was not in play, the approximate time that the visa offices or any passport offices were taking was anywhere in the range of 10 to 30 days. So yours has now gone past the 30th day. But under this scenario, under this condition, delays are inevitable. Delays are to be expected. And depending on your visa office, you can always write back to them and ask for status of your application. But yes, the courier services have been affected. The postal services have been affected. The workers in these services are affected. Visa offices, obviously, if it is New Delhi visa office, again, it's a lockdown. If it's a VFS or VAC, wherever you've submitted your passport, they're also under lockdown. So we cannot really send your documents across to anybody. If you are in Canada, if you were sent it to Ottawa, then yes, Canada Post may have delivered your documents, but then again, people who are in them, and versus how much time it is taking for them to process because of the reduced number of people who are coming to work or work from home. It's an unfortunate time, but the understanding has to be there that these are unprecedented circumstances, exceptional circumstances. Nobody expected this to happen, and nobody prepared what will happen, or rather what would you do in certain scenarios. So I think they are making all kinds of provisions in different scenarios, and trust me, I'm sure they don't want to hold your passport, but it is one of those. Yeah, you're very right in saying it's very annoying, but so is everything else around us. I mean, do you really want to be locked down the way we are all locked down? No, it's annoying, it's frustrating, but it is what it is, right? Okay, what is the next one for us? So many hellos. Thank you. Okay, Rajat, if an unmarried male, 28 years of age, with professional degree in law has 400, what are his chances? Well, unfortunately, I cannot give you answers about chances. Okay, you want to check your chances? Please go on the CIC website, check the CRS scores, check the previous trends. If your scores are not less, then see what you can do to improve your CRS scores. And then if still the scores are not good enough, then please check provincial nominee program, and see what are your options based, because each province has a different program. So you will need to check the criteria and then apply as per that. No, there is no way to find out, Ax. You will only have to keep in touch with your courier delivery services if they delivered or not, and then wait for CIC to sort of update, because the minute CIC will print your COPR, your CIC account will get updated, and you will know at that point of time that your COPR has been printed, your visa has been printed. Okay, and you will be able to then be aware that this has happened, and then expect your passport soon. Ekta Singh, how long should one chase the PR dream with CRS maxed out in early 400s due to age? What would be my advice? Ekta, great question. What would be my advice? Well, I would say explore different, better options in life. Canada is not the end of the world. Canada should not be the only destination in life. At the end of the day, which are only in the immigration, in the economic categories, and much less than that would be the actual number of applications processed. So there is always going to be a demand and supply factor. Regardless of what holds you back in of your CRS scores, there could be options. You could look for job offers in Canada. If you can get a job offer, then it sort of gives you additional 50 points. Or you come to Canada as start working in Canada, get a Canadian work experience, and then the 50 points and the Canadian work experience points, all this adds up. Or if it's still a possibility, if you can still afford it, if it's still an option for you, come to Canada as a student, study in Canada, and then gain important education points, gain important work experience points, and those adds those up. If none of these is an option, then consider coming to Canada for business, or rather as an investor. Invest in Canada, purchase a business, and then again look at owner-operator program. But if none of this is a possibility, then maybe it's time to move on. Maybe it's time to sort of look at better horizons, look at different horizons, because obviously at the end of the day, for example, I'll just give you one small thing. At the last count, there were 142,000 people in the express entry pool. Okay. We all know that not all of these 142,000 people are going to be successful. So obviously there will be people who will be successful, and there will be people who will not be successful, and they could be held back not because they are not fine individuals, not because they cannot contribute to Canada, not because they do not have excellent work experience, not because they do have excellent education, but because of these are held back by the process. Okay, and unfortunately, we are in a world where process takes precedence, because everybody needs to have a standard platform. So if you feel there is no other way you can improve your CRS scores, if you feel that there is no other option there for you, then maybe, as I said, it's time to look at different options, different destinations, and maybe take a detour off to something else, off to some better horizon in your life. Okay, what else have we got here? Okay, so Sami Shantan says, what is the meaning of valid SIN in Canada since we have study work permit? Well, the valid SIN would mean that during your duration of your work permit or your study permit, your SIN card will remain valid. Once you change your status from study to worker to permanent resident, then you must get your SIN number changed to the current status that you might have. That is what it is. Siva says, thank you very much. My COPR is expiring on the 15th of July. Is it safe to travel to Vancouver during the July month? Well, honestly, I don't know. It's too far into the future as of right now. It's still 3 months away. I can't really tell you how safe or unsafe it would be at that point of time. But if you're looking to permanently settle in Canada at this point of time, I would say try and delay it as much as possible. If your COPR is expiring closer to your expiry date, you can request IRCC that you will not be able to travel at this point of time due to the COVID restrictions or the pandemic scenario, and ask them to extend. And then at a time when you are willing to travel, when things have settled down, when things are much better, then you can ask them to extend your COPR and visa, and they will give you certain instructions which you will need to follow. So personally, I would not suggest anytime soon. I mean, even June, even July, not to travel at this point of time. First, because we do not know where we are with this scenario. I mean, it's anybody's guess. Most of the countries have announced lockdowns until May. Canada has already cancelled all public events until the end of June. So July is too close, and as I said, keep a watch on things, how things are going, and when the curve is flattened, when it is under control, when the vaccines have been introduced and things are looking better, and when the economy is catching up. Because even if you come to Canada and you're not able to do your basic things, as in open your bank account, get your find accommodations easily, transition, or even start looking for jobs, it's going to be a very difficult time. So avoid it for as long as you can. And then when you have to, do your research and then make a decision. Okay. Okay. Tushar says, I am expecting my COPR anytime soon in the next month, and my medicals will expire by October. If I'm not willing to travel, how to deal? I just explained, let IRCC know at the point of time when your COPR is expiring, considering the COVID situation at that point of time, and then ask for extension, and then let them know when you're able to travel, and then they will guide you further. Okay, any idea of Saskatchewan score dropping to 63? Well, no, unfortunately, I do not have any idea if the scores will drop to 63 or less or more or whatever, because again, demand and supply, right? Ever since Saskatchewan opened up their doors or added more than 200 NOCs in their demand list, and that happened in September, I think, last year, there were so many thousand more applications who were now eligible to apply into Saskatchewan. And because of that, the scores have stayed put. 70, 68, 69. I think only once or twice it hit 68. Okay, I'm not even sure about that. Yes, actually it did. It did hit 68. And so for it to drop down to 63, unless they do a draw only for a couple of NOCs or few NOCs, then there could be a possibility. But if they were going to do a draw for multiple NOCs, then I don't see it dropping to 63 at this point of time. Sorry about that, but yeah, again, it's a demand and supply factor, and that's how it is. Adil Sohail says, is there any age limit for owner-operator program? No, there is no age limit for owner-operator program. Again, the express entry rules apply for the reason that, so for example, you are a 50-year-old, but you have a master's degree, you can get CLB 9. Your CRS score will be in the range of 300 or 290, 300, that kind of range, okay? Now, because it's in that range, an LMIA for owner operator, which is under 00 NOC, will get you 200 points. So if you add 200 to that 300 score or whatever that might be, you will get 500, which we all know is quite decent a score to get your express entry invitation to apply. So age is not the criteria, but your CRS score at any point of time should be more than 280, 290, so that you can take benefit of the additional 200 CRS scores that you can get from owner operator LMIA. Okay. Okay, Rakib says, could you predict when federal skilled worker draw resume? I wish I could. Trust me, I wish I could, but unfortunately I can't, because there is no way to say that. CIC has already clearly said that as of right now, they have been given priority to CEC only because there are so many of those people who are stuck in Canada and they will be coming to an end at some point of time of their temporary resident status. So CEC allows them to sort of clear their applications faster and then apply for bridge open work permit. Therefore, at least maybe for next few draws, I don't see federal skilled worker coming anytime soon. But again, fingers crossed. I would really, really hope that happens. I mean, I hope it happens in the next draw as soon as possible. Okay. Rohan says, my medicals are expiring on 27th of April, but no notification regarding remedicals or COPR from IRCC. Considering current situation, do I need to notify IRCC? No, you don't need to notify them. Trust me, they already know if your if your medicals are going to expire. Once it does expire, they themselves, at the time when they're willing, or rather they're ready to issue you your new, at the time when they're ready to issue your COPR and the permanent resident visa or approve your application, they will ask you for remedicals. And in case they don't ask you for remedicals and they still approve your application, then in most cases, they automatically date. So please don't worry about it. Okay, Hitesh says, when the situation improves, can we, okay. Same questions. Oh, he's asking only, can we expect FSW only draws? Well, I unfortunately don't see that happening because there is no reason why CIC would do that. Okay, there is no reason for them to do only FSW draws. So no, I don't see that happening at all. Okay, Elton says, does CEC cutoff score influence federal skilled worker score? Will it reduce? Okay, I personally feel in this whole scenario, there will be a good possibility for federal skilled worker scores to drop. And I will tell you why I feel like that. The reason for that is, and let me see if I have a picture. I did have it, but I need to see if I still have it. Hold on, guys. Where is that? Oh, man. Oh, I have it. Hold on. I'm going to just put this up. Okay, how do I need to do this? I need to do this because I need... The reason why I want to pick up this picture so that it'll be easier for me to explain what I'm trying to do here. Okay. Right, so if you... What I'll show you. Okay, perfect. Now this is where it is. So if you see the distribution, this was of the express entry pool as of April 14th, and it's pretty straightforward there. Now, if you see the profiles above 451, it is nearly 22,500. Now, since they have already announced the draws, and the draws came for CEC, that basically meant, including the PNP, nearly 3,900, actually all 3,900 profiles have now been reduced from that pool. Okay, the numbers have reduced, the pool numbers have reduced. That also then basically means that with the current scenario, because there is no possibility of IELTS happening right now, or IELTS is not happening, ECAs are not happening, so new profiles are not being created. The only new profiles that will be created will be the people who already were holding IELTS and ECA, but they didn't really create a profile, or people whose work experience is getting updated. Okay, so they didn't have 3 years before, now they have 3 years, so their profiles will get updated and their score go up. Or if there's anybody who has a sibling in Canada who is just recently now arriving in Canada at any point of time, so they'll be able to claim those 15 points for the sibling. So these will be the people who can still create their profiles, still upgrade their profiles, or their scores can go up. Apart from that, I don't see any other new profiles entering the pool at this point of time. So because the new profiles will not be entering the pool, at a time when CIC does decide to do the federal skilled worker draws, automatically we will see a drop, because if they are to do a 3,900 draw today for federal skilled worker, then you will see a score of roughly 469, 470, in that range. And if they continue with this, maybe let's say do a draw every 2 weeks from there on, because there are not many new profiles entering the pool, you will see substantial drop in the scores. But again, we just need to wait and see when and how that happens, and fingers are always crossed for that. Okay, next question, let's see. Akhil, if someone has employer-specific work permit but has not landed in Canada, is he eligible to be exempted from proof of funds in his parallel PR application? Yes, of course. See, the requirement for exemption of proof of funds is that either you are CEC, Canadian Experience Class, or you have a valid job offer. If you have a valid job offer, which is supported with an LMIA, then absolutely you do not need to show proof of funds. You can let them know that you have a valid job offer and you are exempt from proof of fund requirement. No problem there. Okay. Minha says, I submitted my EAPR, which is electronic application for permanent residence, 2 days back for express entry. Will they process my application or keep on hold because they're no longer making draws? Whoa. Draws has nothing to do with the processing. Okay, don't confuse the two. Draws have absolutely no connection to the processing. CIC has claimed many times that they will continue to process the applications as they are received. There is no stopping that. There is no hold on that. Yes, expect delays. That's obvious with this whole scenario, the way things are progressing. So expect delays. That is bound to happen. But apart from that, no, I don't see any other issue whatsoever. So your application will be processed just the way it would have been processed. The current hold on federal skilled worker draws does not affect your application at all. Okay. Anil says, I got my work permit approval. How and where can I submit my passport? Can they give an extension? Well, if you have your work permit approval, then obviously send your passports to the Canadian embassy, wherever you are, through the VFS, as and when the VFS is open to accept your passport. Can they give an extension? Well, they've already said that due to these closures and shutdowns and lockdowns, they will not refuse any application. Okay, so obviously that automatically means they will give you an extension in terms of the process times. So don't worry about that. Excuse me. Okay, Gautam says, my wife is here in Canada as a student. I'm on an open work permit. Can I apply CEC as unaccompanied spouse? Technically, yes, of course you can apply. But you will need to give a reason as to why your spouse is unaccompanied. And then it is entirely up to you as to what reason you can bring up and what reason you can provide to Canada, to CIC, which is convincing, which will tell them why your spouse is unaccompanied. And why I know that is because there are so many applications we've processed and we've seen where the spouse was unaccompanied in spite of the fact that the spouse was already in Canada on a study visa or a work visa. So there's no problem with that. Okay, next one I'm taking is Sugan says, may I know what are the main reasons for PR application to get rejected between biometrics and PPR? Whoa! Between biometrics and PPR is a whole ocean of assessment protocols that will happen, right? And so if you have your biometric request, we are assuming your R10 check is done. R10 check basically means Immigration Refugee Protection Regulation Section 10, which basically says that your application need to be complete. Not assessed, complete. The documents should be completed. So from there on, you have to still meet eligibility. You have to still be assessed for your points that you have claimed. You still have to be assessed for your criminality. You still have to be assessed for your security. You still have to be assessed for inadmissibilities. So once all that is done, then your application is approved. But you could, God forbid, anybody can get refused or rejected. I wouldn't say rejected because rejection happened earlier. Anybody could get refused for any of these reasons if you do not satisfactorily comply with the requirements. Okay. Chintan, kindly do not send repeated messages. I can read that. I do not know what is the chance for 447. As of right now, it doesn't look that awesome. But if the trends change, then yes, it is definitely possible. But as of right now, I don't see that happening. Sudeep says, my 1-year Canadian experience will complete on the May 21st and eligible for both FSW and CEC. You cannot be eligible for both. Always the system automatically makes you eligible first for CEC, then for federal skilled worker, and then for FSTC. You don't choose the program, the system chooses it for you. And the first priority is always for CEC. So if you are eligible for CEC and FSW, then it is always CEC, not FSW. Okay. Then you say, I have received ITA with CRS 511. Shall I accept and submit my application after May 21st? Yes, please go ahead and do it. Earlier, we were aware that this was a problem in the system and CIC was not accepting applications. But in the recent past, we have seen that they have accepted quite a few applications. You will need to add a letter of explanation stating what has exactly happened here. If you are still having sleepless nights because of this, then you can obviously wait until you actually complete your work experience in May and then submit. And then re-enter the pool and get your ITA again. But as far as the process is concerned, it's a flaw. It's a problem with the express entry system, because it calculates work experience from the first of the month to the first of the ending month. So because of that, it automatically gives you points before you actually have actually completed your work experience. So yes, go ahead and submit your application after you actually physically complete your work experience, and do submit a letter of explanation, and you should be fine. Okay. Right. Farooq says, I need to confirm, since the currency rate fluctuation, I'm thinking to open a dollar account. Will it create any difference? Like, will IRCC or SINP ask that why this account not open before a year or so? No, they will not ask, as long as you can give them the source of funds, as long as you can prove where the money came into the account from, they don't have a problem. For Saskatchewan, they don't care. No matter which account you give them, the funds have to be available in that account for at least 3 months before you submit the application. Very, very important. Do not play around with that one. As far as IRCC is concerned, you could have the funds appearing into your account today. Not a problem, as long as you can explain to them where the funds have come into your account, and if these funds were not borrowed, and they are free from any lines and are unencumbered. So that's not a problem at all. Okay. Okay. Next one is Aarti. Having valid COPR expiring by July 2020, planning for a soft landing in Vancouver by July, not willing to go for extension. Please advise in the view of current COVID crisis. Well, July for soft landing, I don't know, to be very honest. The reason for that is because we do not know how long this COVID scenario will continue. I absolutely hope and pray and that it gets over as soon as possible. If it doesn't, then you have to be prepared for self-isolation of 14 days, which is now a mandatory thing as of today. And you must isolate yourself for 14 days. And if not, then yes, you can absolutely do your soft landing and then return back to your home country. But be mindful, be aware of the travel restrictions at that point of time, and then make a decision. Okay. Anupam says, MBA from UK was 1 year in class plus 1 year internship. Will that be considered as master's? Which is the best organization? I can't tell you which is the best organization, because as I explained earlier in this video today, that different agencies evaluate different credentials in a different manner. So the best thing would be to sort of check with your peers, to check with your college, to check with other people who may have a similar credential, and see, were they successful or where were they successful from? And based on that, you can then send your education or your credentials for evaluation. But usually, from what we have seen, MBAs from European countries, MBAs from the US, MBAs from Australia, MBAs from Singapore, Malaysia, etc., from these countries, usually MBAs do get evaluated as MBAs. But again, don't take my word for it. You do need to confirm and clarify that with the evaluating agency that you will go for. Okay. Afan says, I have submitted my SINP application on the 17th of December, and my status is in process since 19th of March. How many chances to get nomination without ADR, and how long the process will take? Okay. First of all, chances to get nomination without ADR, nobody can tell you, because you yourself know what are the documentation you submitted. So if your documentation basically they have problems with two things. Saskatchewan. One is your proof of funds. Second is your work experience. If you are in compliance with these two requirements, then you will have no ADR. Okay. You may have an ADR for an additional document here and there, but that's not a big deal. But the most critical factors in your Saskatchewan application is always your work experience and your proof of fund. So any problem with these two factors will result in lengthy and a long list of requirements of additional documents. How long the process will take? Well, the process can take anywhere from 6 to 8 months. That's quite normal. There are so many people who have got it earlier, between a month to 2 months, but 6 to 8 months is quite common and normal. Okay. Come on in. Come. Shirani. Sorry, that was my niece who was trying to sort of make an entry. Oh, she's coming on in. Come on in. Okay, so sorry, I need, this is always, okay, say hi. Say hi. No, you don't want to say hi? Okay. So that's my little niece who wants to show me. What are you trying to show me? What is this? Okay, that's a Halloween drawing. What do you think, guys? That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Right, sorry about that, guys. Okay, so Tazeen says, how much points are needed for a master's degree from India and PhD from Canada and work experience for 3 years? Can I apply for X%? Oh, wow. Tazeen, what you need to do is check the CRS points grid available on the CRS website, or you can check the CRS calculator, put all these permutations and combinations, and you will be able to get the score that you're looking for, or rather you'll be able to come to see what is the score that should come there. Okay. Okay, then okay, sorry. The question from Akib Nisar says, Express entry cutoff is showing an increasing trend. PNP is difficult to get. Should we forget about Canadian PR? Akib, I just answered that question for somebody else a bit earlier in the, I think it was Ekta, a bit earlier in the video. So please rewind the whole thing if you can and watch it a bit later on and give you the answer. Sudeep Thakkar says, my 1 year Canadian, oh, we just answered this one, sorry. I don't know why are certain questions repeating. Sadav says, my knock is in high demand in Alberta, but Alberta has a high volume of applications. Will they pick the same knock again? I'm not sure how you know your knock is in demand, because Alberta doesn't release the knock list. Okay, they have never released the NOCs in demand. And you say, will they pick the same knock again? Again, there is no way to say which knocks they're picking. Okay, they have had their own criteria. They have never declared the NOCs in demand. They have never said when they will be picking up these NOCs. So very difficult to say whether they will pick up the same knock again or not, because they're choosing NOCs based on their demand list. If and when the demand, they feel the market report says that the demand is complete or completing or near completion, then they will probably not accept those NOCs. For example, I'll give you a small example. NOC 1311 was being picked up very actively in the year 2018, 19. Was it 18? Was it 19? In the year 2018, okay. They were picking up NOC 1311 quite actively. And then they have stopped picking that NOC. So we do not know when they will stop, when they will restart a particular NOC, and therefore very difficult to say, if it will be picked up again. But yes, I mean, if at all you feel your NOC is in demand, then your best option is to stay within the Express Entry profile, within the Express Entry pool, and make sure that your profile is not expiring within the next 3 months, because that is one of the criteria. And if that is the case, then hopefully, fingers crossed, you will get your notification of interest. Okay, Heather says, please discuss PPR mails, keeping in mind lockdown, why they can't issue with 90 days extension to submit. Well, Heather, they have already announced, please go to their website and see, they've already announced very clearly that though the PPR mail says 30 days, because that's the standard format of the mail, they will not refuse any applications if you do not submit on time. And that, please submit your passports when it is safe to do so. And if it is, the automatic extension is to not 90 days. So they've already done that. Okay. So yeah, please just please just check CIC website and you will find your information about the extended period of time to submit. Okay, Smiley says, I am at 468 without spouse and 461 with spouse. Is there any chance for scores to drop to 461, or should I prefer 468? Oof, okay, good question. But to be very honest, we don't know. And the reason why I'm saying we don't know is because we don't know when federal skilled worker draws start again. And if and when they start, we do not know how long will they continue to hold federal skilled worker draws. And at this point of time, if I was you, I will grab it at 468, because I do not want to take a chance. But that's my opinion, okay? That's me being paranoid, okay? I would take it at 468. After taking it at 468, because nowadays they are giving us nearly 60 to 90 days to submit my application, which basically means I will have effectively 3 months in hand to submit my application. So I will then be able to decide whether I want to wait to see if 461 hits or not. If at all I see the trends declining, if I see the scores declining, and if I feel that 461 is possible, then I would probably then try and obtain another ITA with 461. But that's me, and but that's what I would do. But I can't tell you if you should do that or not, because that is entirely up to you. You need to keep an eye on the trends. Okay. Sahil says, please answer my question. Sahil, I'm sorry, but my feed runs so quickly and I'm not able to see the questions. Okay, I found your question. Okay. Sahil says, my application is already in process. AOR 29th of November. Web form says eligibility met. Does it mean it's passed? AOR security still not ready. How much long does it take? First of all, since it is 29th of November, it basically means you haven't even cleared 6 months. So what's your rush, man? CIC very, very clearly said that they will take an average 6 months to process your application. So I do not know what is your rush in the whole understanding of things. And even if you are so rushed up, you need to now understand that this COVID, things will now become more slower, will take more time. Before COVID, the average processing time was 5 to 8 months. So it's no big deal if yours is still stuck from AOR 29th of November. If your web form says eligibility met, then that basically means you have met the eligibility for Federal Skilled Worker Program, which basically means that whatever your points were, they are more than 67 points. That's it. That's all it means. Now, eligibility met or eligibility passed is the same thing. There is no problem there, but your documents still have to be assessed, whether your CRS scores, do you qualify for them, or do you meet the eligibility under A11.2? Do you clear the criminality? Do you clear the security? Do you meet the proof of fund requirements, etc., etc.? So there is no way to say how long it will take, because again, the COVID scenario is taking time. And as I said earlier, as it was 5 to 8 months. So in your case, you are still under 6 months, man. What is, I don't even understand the reason for the question. Okay, we already done this. Prerna says, any chances of visit visa opening up? Yeah, I'm sure visit visa will open up, Prerna, at a time when things will settle down a bit more. As of right now, because people who are on visit visas cannot enter Canada because it's not considered as essential travel. So until that happens, it will sort of, I don't see that happening. In the current scenario, but yes, at some point of time when things will settle down, they will definitely reopen the visit visas, because it's something that they do need to reopen. Okay, I will take one last question and then we will bid you goodbye. Okay, I'm looking for one question because this person has said I'm not able to. Manhas says resend your question, but I can't see, so I'm not sure which one it is. Instead, last question here. Riaz Khan says, is 3 months enough to keep the funds before the time of application for Express Entry with 10,000 remaining funds after ITA? And for remaining funds, do I need to prove source for it? Yes. So at the time of application, your funds, so CIC asks you to give them average monthly statements for each of the last 6 months. And the reason they ask you for that is because they need to make sure that your funds are unencumbered, that your funds are not borrowed and they're free from any lines. And if you have any loans and liabilities, to see your net liquidity. Okay, that is the reason why they ask you for your last 6 months data for your bank transactions, or average monthly balance for the last 6 months, for each of the last 6 months. So if you have kept it for 3 months and then remaining funds after ITA, etc., you definitely need to provide them the reason, you need to provide them the source of these funds. So any funds that is contributing to your proof of funds and which is deposited in your account within the last 6 months at the time of application, you will need to provide CIC with the source for those funds so that they can establish and clear your application. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Thank you for watching. You guys are awesome. And we will do this again, and we will do that very, very soon. And until next time, bye-bye.